Mohammad Marandi is a political analyst and professor at the University of Tehran. He joins us now live from Tehran. Thanks again for your time. The figure released by the U.S. State Department is very high compared to the one released by Amnesty International a few weeks ago. It put the death toll at about 208 people. Why has it been so difficult to get an accurate figure from Iran?
Well, the United States engages in propaganda, and there is no credibility when it comes to U.S. government or regime statements. And the United States is attempting to kill as many Iranians as possible through its economic warfare against Iranians. So the Brian Hook, who just spoke, he is responsible for trying to kill as many patients in hospitals by actively pursuing companies that export medicine to Iran and by trying to force countries not to export foodstuff to the country. So I think it's highly ironic that anyone from Washington would speak about human rights and human lives in Iran. And of course, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, these are both affiliated to the United States. So again, their narratives are not very credible. In fact, Amnesty International conflates riots with protests. The protests took place on day one. There is no evidence whatsoever to show that the protests ended in violence or that anyone was killed. But at night and on day 2 and 3, the riots very suddenly, very swiftly across the country in a very organized manner and very well equipped began and immediately began destroying banks, hundreds of banks and gasoline stations, hundreds of public buses and ambulances, as well as private property, including hospitals or other facilities. So it's for us in Iran, and one thing that I should like to add is that BBC Persian, Deutsche Welle Persian, VOA Persian, and Iran International, which is Saudi, these and other channels, day and night, 24 hours a day, have been engaging in anti-Iranian propaganda, trying to create fear in the country, trying to create tension in the country, trying to stoke a sectarian, ethnic tension. It's all-out war by the United States and Western European countries against Iran. So I don't think anything that comes out of Western capitals these days when it comes to Iran is credible.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they aren't yet to really answer for that, but it's definitely what they're saying is happening in Iran. And you're distinguishing there between peaceful protesters and rioters. But the fact is that people in Iran are angry at the way the government's dealt with the implementation of these increases in gas prices. I mean, these are some of the biggest protests in about 40 years. So that anger is very real, and it seems to be very tangible in Iran at the moment.
Yes, many people were very angry with the way the Rouhani administration carried out the fuel hikes, without a doubt. And even now, parliamentarians, different political parties are attacking the government. And the peaceful protesters had every right to be angry with the way in which the government pursued this particular policy measure. It was a very sudden rise. People were not informed beforehand. It was a very huge increase. So that is something that everyone here acknowledges. Those who are pro-administration, those who are critical of the administration, they're talking about it day and night. But the issue is the rioters, who were, many of them organized from outside the country. Many of them were very professional. They had all the tools and equipment they needed. They would take out bank after bank after bank, literally within an hour, along side streets. They were trying to create maximum chaos, and then you had at the same time the underworld or organized crime come in to take advantage of the situation, and then you had these tens of Persian media outlets that are funded by Western regimes that were and continue to trying to create fear and tension in the country. It's quite extraordinary how Western-backed media functions when it comes to Iranians. As we speak today, they're carrying out this psychological warfare against Iranians. Yet, at the same time, while they speak of their concerns about human rights in Iran, they are the Europeans, by abiding by Trump's demands, and the United States, they are trying to make Iranians suffer as much as possible. Their intention is to make Iranians suffer. But they do not acknowledge that a number of police officers were murdered. In fact, just last night, a clip came out where they shot and killed a police officer in Iran. So this shows the magnitude of the violence by the rioters, many of whom were backed from foreign governments. And again, as I said, they try to constantly put the rioters and the protesters in one category, which is nonsense.
Okay, Professor, we're going to have to leave it there for now. Live to us from Tehran. Thank you for that analysis.